It is October 23rd, and it is 12:55 p.m. Eastern Time right now, and Giants Live 2021 Britain's Strongest Man is underway. The first event has completed, and that was the dumbbell press medley, and it was extremely, extremely exciting. Some surprises there, some great performances. So I want to give you the quick results and entice you. This is the Facebook page. So again, it's $4.99 US. I will put this link in my description below. I implore you to go purchase this and watch this contest. Giants Live always puts on incredible contests, and this one is no different. So you definitely should support them. You're going to get an incredible show. It's been incredible so far. So once again, let's have a look at who those competitors are in today's Britain's Strongest Man. So we have Mark Felix, the 6-time Britain's Strongest Man podium finisher. Then we have Shane Flowers, who is the reigning England's Strongest Man, kind of new to this level of competition. We have Pa O'Dwyer, the reigning Ireland's Strongest Man. We have Tom Stoltman, the reigning 2021 World's Strongest Man. We have Luke Stoltman, the reigning Europe's Strongest Man. We have Andy Black, reigning Scotland's Strongest Man. Desmond Gahan is the pronunciation that I'm hearing on the show. Gahan. So he was second in Wales' Strongest Man. Paul Smith, second in UK's Strongest Man. Adam Bishop, the reigning Britain's Strongest Man. And Graham Hicks, 2019 Britain's Strongest Man. So an incredibly, incredibly stacked lineup. So real quick, because I want to go back and watch the rest of the show that I've paid for and that you too should pay for, because it's an incredible show. Let's take a look at what the results have been so far on the first event, the Dumbbell Press Medley. So starting off, we have Shane Flowers, who earned 4 points. He went first, so they were head-to-head pairings. He went first versus Desmond Gahan. Shane was going left-handed. He got the third out of the 5 dumbbells, but he was 2 to 3 seconds after the time, so kind of a personal accomplishment for him to lock it out, but I think he knew he was 2 or 3 seconds late there. He said his success on the domestic circuit has been great so far this year, but it's absolutely nothing compared to this level of show. And he says this has been a massive shock to him already, kind of competing against this level of competition. So he got 2 in 25.22 seconds. Sorry, I had predicted him to get 4 points. He ends up with 1 point. Moving on up, we have 2 points going to Andy Black. So Andy Black went in the third pairing versus Mark Felix, and he went right-handed. He was very good and fast, transitioning on the first 2, but couldn't get that third one after a couple of attempts. He said he's happy with the 2 because it's not his best event. And so far, they've been interviewing everybody, like both guys in both pairings, so that's really cool to get information from all of the competitors. Moving up, 3 points went to Mark Felix, who, as we said, went against Andy Black. He was also good and fast on those first 2 and also had trouble on the third one after a couple of attempts. They started that second one at the same time, but then Mark kind of eked it out a little bit faster, got that rep done more quickly. So he did 2 dumbbells in 21.03 seconds, 3 points to Mark Felix. Did a little bit better than what I thought he would do. And Desmond Gahan gets 4 points, so I had predicted him to get 3. These are kind of these gold colors were my predictions. White is actuals if you want to take a look side by side. So he went first versus Shane Flowers, as we said. Desmond went right-handed. He was really trying to egg on the crowd to help motivate him through on that third one, but he just couldn't get it. He got a partial rep, then tried again and just couldn't get it off his shoulder. So he said this is his worst event today, so he's really looking forward to the deadlift. Pa O'Dwyer comes away with 5 points in the dumbbell medley. He went in the second pairing versus Paul Smith. He went right-handed. He was effective through 3. Went for the fourth one. It actually came down on his head, which you'll see in the thumbnail of this video. And, you know, no good. So he couldn't get that fourth one, but did very well through 3. 3 in 29.31 seconds for Pa O'Dwyer. Comes away with 5 points. 6 points go to Paul Smith, so he gets 3 of them in 25.59 seconds. He went second, typo here, went second versus Pa O'Dwyer. He was very efficient through 3 of them. He actually was more efficient than Pa, moving through them pretty quickly. Tried to get that fourth one, and even used kind of a bent press position. So when you're trying to get up a circus dumbbell and you have it up and you kind of bend and then bend back into position, that can help. And he really seemed to have a grasp of that technique, but it just wasn't enough for him. 7 points went to Graham Hicks, who gets 3 dumbbells in 24.82 seconds. He went in the fourth pairing versus Luke Stoltman. He went left-handed as opposed to Luke's right-handed, so you can kind of see the difference in approach there. He was very fast running to the first one, but Luke's lifts were off, his actual reps were faster, so he kind of pulled a little bit ahead of Graham. However, Graham was very effective through 3, looked like he was doing a very good job. He couldn't quite get that fourth one, and then you'll see in a minute, Luke kind of progressed further past that. They interviewed Graham Hicks after. He said he was very nervous going into this event. Amazingly enough, because he's a great presser. So I think maybe it's been a little while since he's been in front of this size crowd, perhaps. I don't know. But he did mention that he was nervous going to this event and his legs felt like jelly. So I made a comment here. If this is Graham feeling like jelly, like Graham at full confidence and full power would be frightening on what he could do with dumbbell. We then have 8 points going to Adam Bishop, the reigning Britain's strongest man, trying to defend his title today. He went in the 5th pairing versus Tom Stoltman. He was very solid and had great leg drive. Tom was just faster. Tom, move up, you'll see Tom came away with 9 points. Adam did the 4 in 44.35 seconds, and Tom did the 4 in 35.11 seconds. You'll see 2 of only 3 guys to get 4 dumbbells, everybody else 3 or 2. And so Tom gets it in 35.11 seconds, 9 points for him. He was very impressive through those 4. His technique looked great. I think he actually left the ground on one of them, which is indicative of a very powerful leg drive. And then Kaz asked him afterward about, you did really well, but your brother just edged you out. And Tom said, I've never done over 100 kilos on this before. This is my worst event. He didn't look worse to me. Like, I thought he did really well. And funny enough, like his... in my block strongest algorithm, that had predicted him to get 9 points here, and he lived right up to that. So very interesting there. And Luke Stoltman outperforms my prediction. So Luke wins the event, 10 points for Luke Stoltman on the dumbbell medley at 2021 Britain's Strongest Man. He went 4th versus Graham Hicks, as we said, and just pulled away from Graham kind of from the 4th one on, although all his reps were a little bit faster. Graham was fast running in between them. Luke's reps were just faster, and he was oh so close to getting that last 120 kilo. Afterward, they interviewed Luke Stoltman, and he said, they said, how are you feeling after this long, hard season? He said, I'm feeling very good, but I should be doing reps with 120, so interesting. But there you go. So Britain's Strongest Man 2021, the first event, the dumbbell medley, is in the books, and the winner of that event, Luke Stoltman, 10 points. Second place, Tom Stoltman with 9 points. Third place, Adam Bishop with 8 points. Thanks again for joining me on my blog, Strongest Man, and when I have my videos about the other events, you can watch them. But let's talk about the results for the yoke. We had 1 point going to Desmond Gahan, so I predicted him to get 2 points here. He went in the 2nd pairing of the yoke versus Mark Felix, who ended up being extremely fast. Desmond had 1 drop, but he was, like I said, against a very, very fast Mark Felix. He comes away with 1 point, 20.04 seconds. 2 points go to Andy Black, who completes the course in 19.5 seconds. He went in the 1st pairing versus Shane Flowers. He put it down and lost a lot of distance, but almost caught all of it back up and almost caught Shane at the end in the second half of the race. However, Shane Flowers did edge him out. 3 points go to the aforementioned Shane Flowers in that pairing against Andy Black. He does the course in 19.39 seconds. Pa O'Dwyer finishes the course with 4 points in 15.58 seconds. Again, this is a 400 kilogram super yoke. He went in the 3rd pairing versus Paul Smith. He had 1 drop a little bit earlier than Paul's drop, but a good time anyway. Paul Smith was just faster. And as we mentioned, Paul Smith completes the course in 12.6 seconds, a very fast time. Good enough for 5 points. He was away very fast, had that 1 drop, and then kind of had to get his momentum going again, because you can't kind of pick up something this heavy and immediately be going as fast as you were before, unless you're Luke Stoltman. We'll talk about that later, but he was asked whether the carpeted surface affected him. Paul said no, the surface was fine. He just kind of pushed it too fast, and it got out a little ahead of him too much. 6 points went to Luke Stoltman, who finishes the course in 12.22 seconds. He went 5th versus his brother, Tom Stoltman. He had, as I mentioned, a momentary drop, so he didn't kind of put it down and have to pick it back up. It was a touch-go sort of situation. So a momentary drop. He barely missed a step on the pickup and was kind of slightly behind Tom the whole way, so the drop didn't cost him. He would have lost to Tom anyway. 12.22 seconds for Luke Stoltman. 7 points go to Graham Hicks, who completes the course in a very fast 11.58 seconds. He went in the fourth pairing versus Adam Bishop. He was very fast. As I said, Adam was just a bit faster and accelerating the whole time through, but Graham, an incredible performance in the super yoke. Moving on up, Tom Stoltman, who we mentioned earlier, going against his brother Luke, comes away with 8 points here. He was ahead of Luke the whole way, and he completes the course in just 2/100ths of a second faster than Graham Hicks, 11.56 seconds for Tom Stoltman to give him that extra point, 8 points to Tom Stoltman at the Giants Live 2021 Super Yoke event. And that means 9 points go to Mark Felix, who does it in 11.36 seconds, so 0.2 of a second faster than Tom Stoltman. Mark Felix, I had predicted him to get 8 points here, so I knew he would be fast. I don't think I knew he would be this fast. Blistering pace against Desmond Gahan. Absolutely flew the whole way, no drops. 9 points for Mark, and that means the winner of this event, the defending Britain's Strongest Man champion, Adam Bishop, does it in single digits, 9.54 seconds. Good enough for 10 points. As I mentioned, accelerated the whole way through. Did not even seem winded during the post-event interview. Adam looks super focused coming in during the intros for the whole show. He looked like he had a special focus for this particular show, and he's defending champion, so why wouldn't he? When he was interviewed after this event, he said, "Oh, deadlift is next. Perfect." And I'm also loving the blonde mohawk look that he's sporting during this contest. So that is how the yoke results shook out at Britain's Strongest Man 2021. The Giants Live Britain's Strongest Man 2021 Deadlift for Reps is done. And oh, what an exciting head-to-head event it was, like the other events before it. Let's have a look at the results. Starting off, we had Desmond Gahan, who came away with 1.5 points here. He did 3 reps. He went in the first pairing versus Andy Black. They both stopped around the same time. They seemed like they were talking to each other. Andy had kind of a smirk on his face. But then Andy got up and did 2 more. Desmond stuck at the 3 reps. Moving up, 1.5 points also for Paul Smith, who also came away with 3 reps. He went in the third pairing versus Luke Stoltman. His first rep looked tough, but he did get the 3 anyway. A gutsy performance by Paul Smith, not only in this event, but in some of the others as well. Moving up the list, we have 4 points going to Shane Flowers for 5 reps. He went second versus Pa O'Dwyer. They were 5 strong reps. He did really well for this being his first time at this level, in my opinion. And then 4 points were split with Andy Black, who also did 5 reps, going in the first pairing against Desmond Gahan. 4 points also went to Luke Stoltman, who also pulled off 5 reps, better than what a lot of people felt Luke Stoltman could do. Deadlift for reps, not one of Luke Stoltman's premier events where he really excels. In fact, I predicted him to get 3 points here. He comes away with 5 points, going into third pairing versus Paul Smith. So much effort to get that 4th rep that I didn't think he had any more in him, and then digs down deep to incredibly get a 5th rep. 6.5 points go to Mark Felix, who we all know is good with deadlift for reps. He comes away with 6 reps, going versus Adam Bishop, 5th in the order. The 6.5 points are split with Pa O'Dwyer, who also comes away with 6 reps. He went in the second pairing versus Shane Flowers. He was great through 6, took a break, and then just couldn't get that 7th one, despite Kaz really egging him on and rooting him on. You could say Kaz kind of picked guys to root on, but then he caught himself later on and was like, "Oh, Paul, you too," and, so didn't want to seem like he was playing favorites. Graham Hicks went 4th in the order. He was super fast, comes away with 9 points, 8 reps for Graham Hicks. Pulled ahead of Tom Stoltman on the 5th rep. Tom pulled back ahead on the 6th. It was a back and forth between them. Graham afterwards said this wouldn't be good enough to win. 10 reps is what it would take to win this event, but he ends up splitting the lead anyway. He said he had lost some weight recently, so the suit didn't necessarily fit him perfectly, but an incredible performance by Graham Hicks. The 9 points I said he would get, he did get on this event, so awesome to see him perform this well on deadlift for reps, an event we all thought he would do very well on. And as we said, those points were split with Tom Stoltman, 8 points for him as well. And wow, Tom, they just look so easy from the beginning. As I said, a back and forth with Graham Hicks. None of these reps really looked hard for him until he got toward the end. He did sound totally out of breath, as you would imagine, in the interview after the event, given how fast he was going. But Tom, incredible there. And 9 points split 3 ways, actually, with Adam Bishop, who also comes away with 8 reps, 9 points. He went 5th in the order versus Mark Felix. He was super smooth. He was close to actually getting a 9th, but didn't quite get it. And then when they interviewed him after, he said with 2 events to go, it wasn't worth chasing that extra rep, so he didn't maybe go 100% to try to get it. So that's how the Deadlift for Reps shook out at Britain's Strongest Man 2021. Giants Live 2021 Britain's Strongest Man loading race has come to an end, and we want to take a look at what the results are, and I have them here for you, hot off the presses. I will remind you one more time, you really should go watch this show. It's only $4.99. It's on Giants Live Facebook page. Extremely well worth the purchase, and I'll put the link in the description below. Being said, let's have a look at the results for the loading race. So, loading medley consisted of an anchor to start off with, then a barrel, then a sack, and then a tire. Each of them range between 120 and 140 kilograms. The anchor goes on the floor, everything else goes in the bin. So that's how it was arranged. Mark Felix comes away with 1 point on the loading medley. He went 4th versus Graham Hicks. Took him 45.58 seconds. 2 points went to Pa O'Dwyer, who did it in 45.16 seconds. He was in the 3rd pairing versus Luke Stoltman. He actually was getting ahead of himself a bit on the anchor and tripped over it, so thank God it didn't look like he injured himself at all. Maybe got ahead of himself a little bit, but finished off strong. 3 points go to Andy Black, who did it in 43.75 seconds. He went 2nd in the order versus Shane Flowers. He was very good, but Shane was just so fast. Neil Pickup said to Andy Black, "You're very fast for such a big guy." And Andy was like, well, for being south of 200 kilograms, I wasn't really that fast. So he was a little humble here in this interview. 4 points go to Graham Hicks, who does it in 40.95 seconds. So he went 4th in the order versus Mark Felix. I felt like he was a rocket ship on the anchor portion. He had great transitions. He had faster runbacks than Mark Felix. He had a slight wobble turning around after he picked up the tire, but like for half a second, not very much at all. And he ran that tire like he was planning to go through a wall, like he was, in a football game trying to go through a whole defensive line. It was quite a head of steam he had going on there. In his interview, Kaz actually mentioned, well, you're shorter and heavy, and which I didn't think was, he had to go there. And Hicks said, well, I actually felt like I was fast. It's just that I lost a little bit of time on my picks. My picks could be faster, and I'll work on that going forward. So fair enough. 5 points went to Paul Smith, who did the course in 40.16 seconds. He went 1st versus Desmond Gahan. Paul's a local, so great support from the crowd there. He said he had a little slip, and Desmond got out in front, and he just couldn't catch him after that. 6 points go to Adam Bishop, who is now for sub-40 second competitor, 39.79 seconds for him. He went 5th in the order versus Tom Stoltman, who we'll see a little later on the list. A very good time, but just seemed mortal compared to Tom on this race. 7 points goes to Desmond Gahan. So Desmond jumping up to the big time, so to speak, for the first time and does incredibly well in this event. 7 points, 39.09 seconds for him versus Paul Smith. As we mentioned earlier, very fast, no bobbles. He was 1st in the order and set a great time for others to try to beat. He had said he had some Scandinavian blood in him and knew this would be a good event, and he proved that. 8 points go to Shane Flowers, who completes the course in 37.52 seconds. He went 2nd versus Andy Black. He was very fast all the way through. He had to stop himself from actually overrunning the sandbag because he was going so fast on the pick before he picked the sandbag up. He said this event is not as skillful as some of the others. It's more kind of brute force and brute manhandling, which he's good at, so he thought he would do well here, and of course he did. 9 points go to Luke Stoltman, who completes the course in 36.25 seconds, going 3rd versus Pa O'Dwyer. Amazingly, he was faster than Shane. Shane looked like he put up a time that I didn't think anyone would beat, and Luke Stoltman's time was better than his, so he was great on every implement, every transition. The sandbag, he didn't even put it in the bin, he threw it through the air into the bin, so incredible strength there, and 9 points for Luke, and that means that his brother Tom Stoltman wins the event, as many expected, as I had expected, as you can see in my predictions. 35.01 seconds for Tom Stoltman, and as I said here, wow, nothing looked heavy for him. He picked up that anchor like it wasn't there, and walks away with 10 points. So that's how the loading race shook out at Britain's Strongest Man Giants Live 2021. So the Giants Live 2021 Britain's Strongest Man Castle Stones, and therefore the entire show is now complete, and I'm here to give you the Castle Stones results. Here we go. Starting off with 1 point, we have Desmond Gahan, who did 4 stones in 33.12 seconds. He went 1st versus Andy Black. He tried the 5th stone to the very end, very gutsy performance. Andy even gave him some of his tacky, but Desmond just couldn't get it up. Gutsy, though. 2 points go to Paul Smith, who does the 5 stones in 30.5 seconds, going third in the order versus Mark Felix. He actually had to press the first one. I mean, press, like almost like an overhead press, because the platform was too high. So, interestingly enough, he found a way and ends up pressing that first stone. 3 points go to Mark Felix, who, as we said, went against Paul Smith, 5 stones in 25.27 seconds. Had a couple of issues getting some of them over the platform lips, but, still did decent there. Kaz asked him if the stones were slippery. Mark said no. I wish I would have gone faster, but they weren't slippery. They were fine for me. 4 points go to Shane Flowers, who does 5 stones in 25.05 seconds, going second in the order versus Pao Dwyer. A solid run for Shane. 5 points go to Pao Dwyer, who we just mentioned, went against Shane Flowers. He started out ahead and was ahead the whole way. He went to a 2 motion only on the 4th stone and forward. He had a little bit of imbalance on the 5th, so Shane caught him a little bit, but Pa still won. 5 stones in 24.24 seconds for Pao Dwyer. 6 points go to Luke Stoltman, who completes 5 stones in 23.58 seconds. He went 4th in the order versus Graham Hicks. Adam Bishop comes away with 7 points here, going against Tom Stoltman, 5th in the order. He does 5 stones in 22.33, and they went last against each other to kind of see what the final standings would shake up as. As you'll see when I do my overall standings, it was a little bit nail-biting there toward the end on whether Adam would be able to retain his title or repeat as champion. So he got to that first stone first, actually, ran faster than Tom, but Tom lifted it faster. And then they were kind of almost even. Tom maybe slightly ahead, but they were almost even a lot of the way. Adam looked super focused, and then he just took a lot more time on the 5th stone than Tom did. Tom did lap it. He didn't one motion the 5th stone, but Adam kind of sat with it for a bit, and they interviewed him after, and ugh, oh my God, he said what happened was when he went to pick it, he grabbed part of the ring that it sits on, and he had to reset. So what a terrible stroke of bad luck there for Adam Bishop. Not sure if he would have beaten Tom anyway, but he was close to him, so who knows? Bad luck there. 8 points go to Andy Black, who I thought would do very well in the Castle Stones, and he did. He didn't seem as blisteringly fast or effortless as I expected him to be, but still good enough for 8 points. 22.12 seconds is a good time, so maybe my eyes just deceived me. 9 points go to Graham Hicks, so he did much better than I expected on Castle Stones. So that's actually going to go into my Block Strongest algorithm for next time and raise up his expectations for future shows. He went 4th versus Luke Stoltman, pulled strongly ahead on the 4th stone. So they kind of went a little back and forth before that, but Graham pulling strongly ahead on the 4th stone. Took a split second to kind of look over it and see what Luke was doing. So I don't know why you would waste a couple tenths a second on that, but he won anyway. So 20.88 seconds for 5 stones for Graham Hicks. Gets 9 points on the Castle Stones. So he said he had wanted to put pressure on Luke for 3rd place, and he did just that. And of course, the man we all expected to win Castle Stones did in fact win it. I put 5 in fast because at the time of this writing, they didn't have a time for him yet, so he went 5th versus Adam Bishop. We can actually take a quick look at Strongman Archives to see if I have a time, and if there is one, I'll give it to you. So let's have a quick look at my buddy Eloi Fournier. And yes, he does have a time, an incredible 18.9 seconds for Tom Stoltman, so there you go. Tom Stoltman wins the Castle Stones, and those are all the placings for the Castle Stones at Britain's Strongest Man 2021 Giants Live. Let's have a look at the overall standings. Giants Live 2021 Britain's Strongest Man has come to a conclusion. Oh, what an incredible show. If you have not watched it yet, you should go to the Facebook link that I'm going to put in the description below, purchase the content and watch it. It was an even faster pace than their normal shows, which are between 4 and 4.5 hours. This one was done in a little over 3 hours. It was incredible how fast they got through 5 events. And without further ado, if you've watched all my other videos, you know how each individual event shook out. And if not, you should go watch them. But let's get on to the overall standings. Starting off in 10th place, we have Desmond Gahan, who came away with 14.5 points and 10th place. And we'll see how that broke out. So he got 4 points on Dumbbell Medley, came away with 1 point on Super Yoke. He came away with 1.5 point on Deadlift for Reps. He came away with 7 points on the Loading Medley. And then he had 1 point on the Castle Stone. So that's Desmond Gahan, 10th place. Moving on up to 9th place, we have Andy Black. So Andy Black comes away with a total of 19 points. That breaks out into 2 points on the Dumbbell Press, 2 points on the Super Yoke, 4 points on Deadlift for Reps, 3 points on loading medley, and 8 points on castle stones for Andy Black. So that is the combination of points that puts Andy Black into 9th place at Britain's Strongest Man 2021. As we move on up to 8th place, we'll see that went to Paul Smith, and Paul Smith comes away with 19.5 points. That breaks down into 6 points coming from the dumbbell medley, 5 points coming from super yoke, 1.5 points in deadlift for reps, 5 points in loading medley, and 2 points in the castle stones for Paul Smith. So those are how the event-by-event points broke out for Paul Smith and how he got to his placing. 7th place went to Shane Flowers. So Shane comes away with 20 total points, edging out Paul Smith by just half a point. And so as we can see, Shane's points come from 1 point on dumbbell medley, 3 points on super yoke, 4 points on deadlift for reps, 8 points on loading medley for Shane, did very well there. And then 4 points on castle stones for Shane Flowers, putting him into 7th place at the Giants Live 2021 Britain's Strongest Man. Then we have a tie in 5th place. Mark Felix and Pa O'Dwyer both come away with 22.5 points. On the dumbbell, Pa comes away with 5 points, while Mark Felix comes away with 3. On the super yoke, we had Pa O'Dwyer coming away with 4 points, and 9 points going to Mark Felix, who just ran through that event. It was something to watch. Deadlift for reps, they both split the 6.5 points there. Loading medley, we had 6 points going to loading medley, we had 2 points going to Pa O'Dwyer, and 1 point going to Mark Felix. And then on the final event, the Castle Stones, we had 5 points going to Pa O'Dwyer and 3 points going to Mark Felix. So that's how Pa O'Dwyer and Mark Felix ended up splitting 5th place. 4th place goes to Luke Stoltman. So Luke Stoltman, 10 points on the dumbbell medley. Just an incredible effort there. He comes away with 6 points on the super yoke. He comes away with 4 points on the deadlift for reps. He comes away with 9 points on the loading medley. And then the Castle Stones, the final event, 6 points for Luke Stoltman. So that's the breakdown of how Luke Stoltman ends up in 4th place at Britain's Strongest Man 2021. Moving up the list, let's look at our podium. So 3rd place goes to, and may I say, I got the placing for Luke right. You can see that golden 4 matches kind of the white 4, so the golden one's my prediction. I got Graham Hicks right as well, and we'll caveat that by saying I got Graham Hicks right after he corrected my approach on what should have been the best approach to do my prediction. So full credit goes to Graham. Well, half credit goes to Graham, and half goes to me for doing the work all over again. But thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. So 3rd place for Graham Hicks. Congratulations. An incredible performance. 36 points for Graham Hicks, and let's see how that broke down. So 7 points on the dumbbell medley for Graham Hicks. Super yoke, 7 points there as well. Going to the deadlift for reps, he splits 1st place with 9 points there. Loading medley, he comes away with 4 points there. And then Castle Stones, 9 points for Graham Hicks, finishing extremely strongly to solidify his podium finish at Britain's Strongest Man 2021 Giants Live. So congratulations to Graham Hicks. And we'll highlight here 7 points on that dumbbell medley where I had originally predicted him not to do so well and then predicted him to win. He gets closer to my second prediction, so great going, Graham. 2nd place ends up going to the defending champion, Adam Bishop. So he comes away with 40 points here, and that breaks out into 8 points on dumbbell medley, 10 points on the super yoke, 9 points, a split for 1st place on the deadlift for reps, 6 points on the loading medley for Adam, and then 7 points on the Castle Stones. So Adam Bishop, the defending, I think, longest reigning since Jimmy Mark, who Britain's Strongest Man. It's 19 months or something along those lines. Finally dethroned, is number 2 this year, just misses it, and he is beaten by the only remaining competitor on our list. The winner and new 2021 Britain's Strongest Man is, by a whopping 6 points, Tom Stoltman. He comes away with 46 points. So if we take a look here at how these two compare, dumbbell medley, Adam Bishop had 8 points, Tom Stoltman had 9. So if we look at the running points here, you'll see Tom is ahead by a point. Super yoke, Tom Stoltman comes away with 8 points, Adam has 10. So now the running points, you see Adam Bishop is in first place now. So after 2 events, he's in first place by a point. Going to the deadlift for reps, Tom Stoltman and Adam Bishop split. So Adam Bishop's still ahead by a point and still in first place. Then going to the loading medley, Tom makes his move. So loading and Castle Stones, 2 of Tom's strongest events by far. Tom Stoltman wins the loading medley and wins the Castle Stones. By winning the loading medley, he pulls ahead by 3 points of Adam Bishop. Bishop now in second, Tom in first. And then the Castle Stones, he makes an even bigger jump there. And that's how it all broke down. That's how Tom Stoltman won 2021 Britain's Strongest Man, hosted by Giants Live. Again, if you haven't watched it yet, $4.99 is an incredible price to pay for all this action. Head on over to the link I put in the description below. Check it out. And again, as always, until next time, ciao, homie.